If you deliberately plan to be less than you're capable of being, then I warn you, you'll be deeply unhappy for the rest of your life. In this video, you're going to learn about what motivates human behavior according to Abraham Maslow, the founder of humanistic psychology, also called the third force. In the 1940s, Maslow was struck by the idea that psychology only studied mental illness. Well, what about the mentally healthy mind? He was interested in learning about how people fulfill their potential. He studied the lives of people who had achieved great things, such as Abraham Lincoln, Albert Einstein, Mother Teresa, and Eleanor Roosevelt, as well as other ordinary people, ordinary in the sense that they were not known by history. He called this method biographical analysis. He studied their lives and their accomplishments, and he looked for commonalities among these self-actualized people. You might recognize that this is not the scientific method, and for that he was and continues to be criticized. But Maslow's legacy is enduring despite these criticisms. He founded humanistic psychology as well as transpersonal school of psychology with other notable psychologists such as Viktor Frankl and Stanislav Grof. In an introductory psychology class, the students still learn his theories, and businesses continue to use his ideas to design change management and understand employee motivation. Maslow identified 5 levels of human needs that he envisioned in a hierarchy. To understand his theory, he proposed back in 1954, we need to begin at the top level of growth called self-actualization. It is precisely this state that provides the impetus for growth and mental health throughout life. Maslow saw self-actualization as a subtle but powerful force urging us to be all that we can be. It is this desire to fulfill our potential and to grow beyond our imagined limitations that will express itself even during times of challenges, suffering, and great obstacles. But what does self-actualization mean? The simple answer is to be the best version of yourself possible, to be the most you can be, to develop your potential, and to become everything that you can be, perhaps even more than you might have imagined. Maslow described self-actualized people as confident, loving, creative, secure, expressive, open to new experiences, spontaneous, and not afraid of the unknown. And that's the short list. Maslow did not think that everyone achieved self-actualization, but he did believe that everyone could and did feel the pull towards it, especially if they listened to their inner voice that urged them towards creativity instead of procrastination, the part of them that became excited about learning instead of feeling bored and anxious about life. The 5 levels of basic human needs are often depicted as a pyramid because this shape expresses the idea of growth and hierarchy. As the needs on the lower level are satisfied, the individual begins to feel the urgency to satisfy the needs on the top level. But for Maslow, growth was fluid, meaning that some might experience a need on a higher level more intensely than one on a lower level. For example, a person might feel the need to express their creativity more intensely than they feel the need to belong. Individual differences or external factors could influence the growth, but because the boundaries of needs and satisfaction are fluid, other images might better express this idea. I really like this image of waves that intersect and overlap with each other. It expresses both the hierarchy and the fluidity of growth. Maslow proposed 5 levels and 2 categories of needs, and he called them deficiency needs and growth needs. In his own words, deficiency needs are empty holes, so to speak, which must be filled up for health's sake and filled from without by a human being other than the subject. In other words, these basic human needs must be met by parents, family, and friends, and not by the young person, him or herself. Later in life, we know how to respect and love ourselves, but we need to learn this first by receiving it from others. A deficiency is a lack of something, and it is precisely this absence that motivates a person towards the satisfaction of this need. The greater the absence is felt, the greater the motivation to fulfill it becomes. When deficiency needs are satisfied, the motivation subsides. For example, a person who feels secure in the love of another does not need constant proof of that love. So here are the 4 basic deficiency needs. First level, number 1, basic physiological or survival needs for shelter, food, water, and sleep. The next level are safety needs, the physical safety of the person, psychological safety such as freedom from fear. Maslow spoke about the importance of this need for young children. Only when they feel safe will they feel bold enough to explore the world. This applies to everyone because we will choose to step up to a challenge only when we feel safe in our ability to meet it. Otherwise, we will default into defensiveness, and that is motivated by fear. So safety is a prior condition for growth. Maslow said that when needs are satisfied, the person will feel the urge towards something new, the desire to reach beyond their comfortable station because they feel competent enough to stretch themselves and to grow. And this is how each new need is felt. The next level is love and belonging, such as intimate relationships, family and friends, and the sense of identity because of belonging to a group or to a place in the world. Maslow saw love and belonging as 2 sides of the same coin. If there is a deficit in this basic need, then a state of love hunger is created. He described this as a hole that needs to be filled with love, and when we are very little, only others can give that to us. Everyone needs to feel that they are loved and to belong to a group for whom they are important and from whom they receive respect. The need to belong is so significant that it is protected in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Check out part 2 of this video series to see what happens when young adults feel like they don't belong anywhere except maybe to a gang or to an extremist group. The next level are esteem needs. To feel as if we matter, to feel respected, to have prestige, to feel competent and capable of being independent. This is especially important for children because they learn self-worth in the image reflected back to them from the eyes of their parents. Teenagers will also find esteem in the eyes of their friends and peer group. And finally, at the top of the pyramid are growth needs or self-actualization. These are the opposite of deficiency needs because when these needs are met, motivation for them goes up instead of down. The more we are pulled into growth, the more we want to grow. The more we learn, the more exciting the world becomes, and the more we want to learn. This was Maslow's special insight that I think explains why this theory remains so popular today, despite the problems with its methodology and lack of scientific validation. Later in his career and just before he died, Maslow added extra levels to growth needs such as transcendence and peak experiences. Maslow assumed that people possessed an innate desire for health and growth beyond their own imagined limitations. His humanistic psychology contrasted starkly with Freud's ideas of the time of destructive forces in the unconscious mind and with Skinner's emphasis on behavior to the detriment of mind. But you can learn more about that in part 2. Some might say that Maslow's theories have seen better days and should be retired, but I appreciate his ideas because of their emphasis on growth towards something greater than ego and personality fulfillment. Maslow understood that people actualize themselves precisely because of service to others. Paradoxically, we find ourselves when we lose ourselves to creativity, to service, and to the greater good. This makes sense to me. For Maslow, health and growth were a subtle and powerful force in human nature. This force seeks to be expressed even during suffering and pathology. Like a plant that grows up through the cracks in the sidewalk, the human being needs to fulfill his potential and move towards growth. I hope this video has brought you some value, and if so, please give it a thumbs up or consider subscribing. And make sure that you join me for part 2 of Maslow's ideas.